And we are back at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale. This is PRI, Prep Recruiting Insider. I'm your coach for PRI, Rick Gailey, along with our Prep Recruiting Insider, Renee Nato. We're joined this segment by Rod Walker, sports writer for the New Orleans Advocate, and Coach Don Rodrigue, former Nicholls State assistant, but more importantly, former defensive coordinator for the St. James Wildcats. Don and I spent a lot of time on the sidelines together getting the Wildcats ready. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Thank you, Rod.
Okay.
We're going to start with the select Division II, Parkview Baptist playing St. Thomas More. A couple of legendary programs, multiple state championships on the Parkview Baptist side. Legendary coach Jim Hightower, first time going to the Superdome. And Rod, this is the 5 o'clock matchup, closer to a regular starting time. What are your thoughts on this game?
Well, Parkview, if you watched them 20 years ago when Kenny Giat was coaching them, and you're watching them today, that's not much different. Their defensive front line is going to anchor the line of scrimmage. Their linebackers are going to run and make plays. The secondary is they're going to cover you. They're not extraordinary athletic talent, but they're in the right place, so they make you earn your yards that you're going to get. And now with Coach Hightower and his staff, Jim has been around for so many years, so many district championships, so many winning seasons, but his first trip to the Dome, and I'm excited for Jim and his whole staff. His staff never leaves him. That tells you what kind of coach. It's the same guys. If you go 15 years ago, it's basically the same guys that coach with him. So they do a tremendous job. I think it's just going to be a great battle. It's going to be a battle up front against offensive and defensive lines. And then the skilled guys are going to go make plays.
And Parkview kept it in the family when it went from Kenny Giat to his son-in-law, Jay Maye.
Jay Maye, that's right.
Excellent. And Rod, this is outside your coverage area, but you're familiar with the teams. Once again, programs keep popping up when you talk about Parkview and St. Thomas More.
And I think the thing with Parkview, they knocked off the #1 seed last week in U High, and it was, a double-digit win, which is impressive. And you look at St. Thomas More and beating Turlins Catholic like that. I mean, if you had a chance to see Cole Kelly play quarterback for Turlins this year, you know how they can put up points, and they held them to 21 points last week, and that says a lot about that team.
Absolutely. And Coach Hightower, of course, a legend. Jay Maye may be working his way up there. Second most wins in the state for Coach Hightower. It is encouraging to all of us to see him in the final.
Well, Coach Hightower, 76% of his games he's won, 386 wins. He's got a wide receiver, Trevor BK, with a 1,000-yard receiver. He had 216-yard performance against Karen Crow earlier this year. Parkview Baptist is a team I'm very familiar with. Reggie Hayes, a 4.34 sprinter. He had 5 touchdowns in one game against Catholic of Baton Rouge. Is going to face off against Rummel in the state championship. Also, Reggie Hayes was part of that, 339 yards rushing against Catholic of Baton Rouge. So they got some weapons. 4 state titles for Parkview Baptist thus far, and they're going for #5.
And Reggie Hayes Jr. playing against Coach Hightower's team this year. 1990, Reggie Hayes Sr. at Broadmoor beat St. Thomas More and Coach Hightower. And the strange part about that, fellas, is that Coach Hightower still remembers it. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. Coach Hightower can remember 1990. Now we go into select Division III, and this might be the highlight of the evening. What a great game we have in store. Riverside Rebels, #1 seed, versus the Notre Dame Pios, the Pioneers, the 3 seed, in the 1:30 game. Once again, 2 outstanding programs. Certainly a legendary coach, and an approaching legendary coach, perhaps. Bill Stubbs for Riverside and Louis Cook at Notre Dame.
Well, Bill's been to the Dome, has taken care of Curtis on a couple of occasions. And now he's at Riverside, started another program, has built it back up. And Reggie Hayes, when Parkview and Riverside played early in the years, Reggie was held in check by their defense. So they've got a bunch of young men. Vero, one of their defensive ends, outside linebackers, very aggressive. And their whole defense for Riverside plays on his mentality. Right. They play with his get up and go, and he's the bell cow for that defense, and they play pretty darn good. And on the offensive side of the ball, they can move it at will. They have, with the receivers and the quarterback, Butler, and then McGee, they can move at will. And they're good little run back, Sanders.
Once again, Rod, two programs that we've heard a lot about during the course of the season. Everybody knows what Louis Cook has done on a consistent basis. And Bill Stubbs, he's only won 182 games, but he's gotten a lot of mileage with 3 state championships out of those 182 wins.
Yeah, 182 wins and 11 wins in a row of that 182. They lost to John Ehret, which is in the Class 5A semifinals by 1 point in the season opener. So that alone tells you how good this team is for a small school to compete with a 5A school. And then they have a win over Hahnville this season, and Hahnville was playing last week in Class 5A. So they've played they're really battle tested, and that'll have them prepared for this game. And they played against that John Ehret defense at the beginning of the season. Now they have a tough Notre Dame defense that's only given up 49 points all season. So this is going to be a really good game. And out of all the 4 games on Friday at the Dome, this is the one I'm the most looking forward to.
Absolutely. And Ken Trahan and I will be broadcasting that game, so I'm excited about preparing for the broadcast. Looking forward to that. Renee, what do you think about this match?
Billy Stubbs in his 24th season, 77% of his games he's won. Louis Cook on the other side, 80% of his games he's won, 320 career victories. And keep in mind that Notre Dame shut out powerful St. Thomas Aquinas 33-0 in the quarterfinals. They are a very solid team. And Billy Stubbs, they were on the show last week, went down to option 3 and a quarterback. Herb McGee was the quarterback, and the train kept moving. So he's done a great job coaching, great athletes, but he knows it, put him in the right spots.
I think it's a matchup of the skilled players of Riverside against especially the team defense of Notre Dame and the size and strength that they have inside, because both teams are going to be prepared. Perhaps Notre Dame being there more recently than Riverside could be a difference during the course of the game. Now, next segment, when we come back after this timeout, we're going to talk about the non-select side of the bracket. We'll have Coach Laurie DuPont on for that particular segment, and Coach Rodrigue will be back later to talk about other non-select classifications. This is Prep Recruiting Insider, PRI, here at NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale. We'll be back after this brief timeout.